Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the North Carolina Department of Transportation's virtual public meeting for the I-95 Improvements Project in Lumberton. I'm Jamil Robbins. I'm the Public Involvement, Community Studies, and Visualization Group Leader with the department and your moderator for tonight's virtual public meeting. With me today from the Department of Transportation, from our division office, we have our division engineer, Mr. Greg Burns. We have Mr. Steve Kendall, Mr. Scott Pridgeon, and our project manager, Mrs. Christy Huff. Also from NCDOT, we have Mr. Matt Lawfer from our hydraulics unit, and I believe our division right-of-way agent will be joining us today, Mr. Raphael Marshall. From NV5, the private engineering firm that we hired to assist us with the development of this project. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting on this project. We have Mr. Brian Yamamoto, Nick Mountcastle, Chris Anderson, Michael Holt, and Beth Allen. Now, of course, there are a lot more people involved in bringing this project to a reality, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna move on. So real quick, let's cover ground rules. For the best experience, please minimize as many applications that you have up. That should cut down on any delays or any issues you may have. Turn off your webcams. And to participate, once I've gone through this presentation and we get to the public comment period, if you have questions that come up or questions come up during the presentation, please go to the chat box and select send questions to staff. And we will, when we get to the public comment portion, we will answer those questions in the order in which they are received. Now, if we do not get to each and every question tonight, we will have a record of it and we will respond during the process. Now, this webinar is being recorded, so if you have friends, families, or neighbors that were unable to make it tonight, the recording will be up on our website tomorrow. So please look for that and encourage them to watch it and send feedback to us during the comment period. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Now, real quick, here's the meeting agenda for tonight. We will touch on each of these topics during tonight's meeting. Comments will be welcomed at the end of the presentation. So let's start with the purpose of tonight's meeting. And simply put, is to make you, the public, a part of the project development process. It's just another important step in our continual efforts to make you a part of the process. Now, specifically tonight, we want to get your input on the proposed design of the project. Project materials, including maps and videos, are available online on our webpage.
Hey, Greg, I can hear everybody now.
Okay. For those that are joining via phone only and you do not have the visual, please go to our website, ncdot.gov, and in the search bar, put I-95 Widening Lumberton, and it will take you to our webpage. Now, your input is extremely important to the development of this project and any other NCDOT project. All comments, no matter how they are submitted, carry the very same weight. We have provided multiple ways for you to participate in this process, and you can do that by submitting your comments here during this live virtual meeting. You can also go to our website where there's a link to our public engagement portal to provide feedback. You can also send an email, and the email there for those that are joining via phone only, I'll read it out, is I-95 lumberton at publicinput.com. So let's say you're not a big fan of computers or technology. You can call in your comments or questions by using our toll-free project hotline. That number is 855-925-2801 and enter the project code 8812. I sometimes joke, if you have a carrier pigeon, you can send that in as well. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's important, and I can't stress enough the importance of you getting your comments into us on this project. And again, the comment period ends October the 15th. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what are you going to do with the input that you receive? Well, once the comment period has ended, we will hold what is known as a post-hearing meeting, or a post-meeting meeting in this case. And this meeting is attended by NCDOT staff from various units and divisions, all of which have had or will have involvement with this project. At this meeting, we will discuss each and every comment that has been received throughout the comment period, and we will incorporate those public comments into the design of the project where feasible. But I do want to be clear that the department cannot take public comment into consideration in making these decisions alone. We have to balance that against good, sound engineering criteria, such as safety, which is our #1 goal and main focus. We also have to look at the impacts to the natural and human environments. We have to look at operations as well as cost. So it's a balancing act that we do with these projects, but in the end, it ensures that we put the best product on the ground for the citizens of North Carolina. Now, the project is being paid for through a mix of federal and state funds. So let's get to, let's talk about the why of the project. In transportation terms, that is known as the purpose and need of the project. All alternatives or designs are compared against the the purpose and need, and how well they meet the purpose and need. So the traffic volumes along I-95 are anticipated to increase by about 50% by the design year 2040, which will create conditions in which operations degrade and average travel speeds are below the posted speed limit. Forecasted traffic volumes are expected to exceed 100,000 vehicles per day in some locations within the project study area. So to meet this need, the purpose of this project is threefold: to help relieve congestion, improve mobility, and enhance resiliency of this corridor to storm events such that it can continue to serve as a primary East Coast route through the project design year 2040. The proposed improvements meet the purpose and need of the project. Potential secondary benefits include improved safety, enhanced emergency services, and military preparedness. Now, the proposed improvements are consistent with the long-range transportation plans for municipalities within the study area, local governments within the Lumber River Council of Governments, as well as NCDOT, have included this project in their adopted plans. So again, to meet the purpose and need of the project, the proposed design would improve about 9 miles of I-95 from I-74 or exit 13 to US 301 Fayetteville Road, which is exit 22 in Lumberton. This will be done by widening to a total of 8 travel lanes, that's 4 in each direction, and elevating sections of the highway that are vulnerable to flooding. To construct these improvements while maintaining the existing service road system and minimizing the amount of new right-of-way needed to construct the project will utilize retaining walls for the majority of its length. Now, I-95 in the vicinity of Lumberton has experienced major flood events recently. Hurricane Matthew in 2016 and Hurricane Florence in 2018. Both storms resulted in a partial or complete shutdown of the highway within the project limits until those floodwaters receded. To improve the resiliency, the resiliency of this vital interstate facility, the highway will be elevated in vulnerable sections and major hydraulic structures will be improved. So to inform the design process, we conduct detailed hydraulic studies to determine the appropriate roadway elevation to provide resiliency or resilience against a 100-year storm. Now, which is our current policy. Our past policy involved designing projects to accommodate a 50-year storm. Now, ultimately, the preliminary roadway designs will raise I-95 in the vicinity of NC 72 or exit 17 between 4 and 6 feet. In the vicinity of Meadow Branch and 5 Mile Branch, I-95 will be elevated between 4 and 8 feet, with the largest elevation change occurring at the new Lumber River Bridge, where the main line of I-95 will be raised by about 13 feet. Now, 3 interchanges will be modernized with this project, which include NC 72 or Canton Road, which is exit 17, Carthage Road, which is exit 19, and NC 211 or Roberts Avenue, exit 20. These are all circled in orange here. The interchanges at either end of the project, the I-74 and the US 301 interchange, which is exit 13 and exit 22 respectively, are anticipated to remain largely unchanged. Additional proposed improvements include replacing the bridges carrying I-95 over the Lumber River and VFW Road, and extending and expanding the culverts at 5 Mile Branch and Meadow Branch to add stormwater capacity. Service roads along the length of the project will also be resurfaced. And we'll kind of do a quick, little more detailed look at these interchange improvements. At NC 72 or exit 17, the existing diamond configuration and traffic signals will be retained. The bridge carrying NC 72 over I-95 will be replaced. Now, the bridge carrying NC 72 over the Lumber River will not be replaced as a part of this project. Also, to the east, on the east side of the interchange, median and sidewalks will be added along 5th Street within the project limits. Now, at Carthage Road, which is exit 19, the existing diamond configuration will be retained. However, at the on and off ramps, which are now stop controlled, they will be replaced with roundabouts on either side. And a video showing how to navigate a roundabout is posted on our project page. So please, I encourage you to go and watch those. Also, to accommodate the reconstructed interchange, the service roads, Lackey Road and Capuana Street will have to be relocated somewhat. Capuana Street will tie into this easternmost interchange at Carthage Road, and Lackey Street will tie in with Carthage Road just to the west of where it does currently. And also a 10-foot multi-use path will also be constructed along Carthage Road and across the bridge over I-95. And at NC 211, Roberts Avenue interchange, which is exit 20, the existing partial cloverleaf configuration will be replaced with a diverging diamond interchange. This proposed design will look and operate similar to the diverging diamond interchange at I-95 and US 301, which is the exit 22, which is just 2 miles north of here. We do have a video showing the general operations of a diverging diamond interchange on our webpage. So again, I encourage you to watch that. The project will also replace the existing single bridge carrying NC 211 over I-95 and replace with 2 bridges. I'm having some technical difficulties with my mouse. 1 second. Okay. The project, there will also be some resurfacing, grading, and realignment work required along the parallel service roads, Lackey Street, Capuana Street, Dawn Drive, and also Pond Drive. A 10-foot multi-use path will be provided across one of the bridges and extend to the western project limits to provide a more walkable connection to the nearby French Park. Okay, now we will talk, review and talk about the roadway cross sections. As I mentioned earlier, all of the cross sections include a total of 8 12-foot travel lanes, again, 4 in each direction, with paved inside and outside shoulders with a concrete barrier median. As shown on this slide, cross section 1 utilizes retaining walls along the outside shoulder to contain the widened and elevated interstate. Cross-section 1 will be used for the majority of the project corridor. However, the wall height will vary depending on the proposed elevation change along I-95. Cross-section 2 includes a concrete barrier along the outside shoulder rather than a retaining wall. This cross-section will be used in areas where parallel service roads are present and the elevation of I-95 will remain generally unchanged. A combination of cross-section 1 and cross-section 2 will be utilized at the southern end of the project between exit 13 and exit 17. Cross-section 3 will utilize grass slopes along the outside shoulder instead of a retaining wall or barrier. This cross-section will be used in areas where parallel service roads are not present. These areas generally include the southern and northern project limits and between the on and off ramps at each interchange. Now, the preliminary cost estimates have been prepared for this project. The estimated costs are as follows: $40 million for right-of-way acquisition, $1.2 million for utility relocation, and roughly $418.6 million for construction. That adds up to a total estimated project cost of $459.8 million. And please note that these cost estimates are preliminary and subject to change. Now, tentative schedule has been developed as well for the next steps of the project. Again, following this meeting, we'll have that post-meeting meeting where we will go through and summarize all the comments and respond to those, and we'll incorporate those comments where feasible into the project. So all of this work and work that is going on to bring us up to this step will be cataloged and captured in the federal categorical exclusion exclusion, which is the environmental document being prepared for this project. It is expected to be completed this winter. The project will be awarded for a design build in summer of next year, with right-of-way acquisition beginning shortly after that in the fall. If you have any questions about the design build process, please enter those in the chat box. Construction is planned to begin in 2022 and last through 2026. Now, the design build process allows for the department to hire a team of contractors and designers that are responsible not only for the final design of the project, but also the right-of-way acquisition, as well as the construction of the project. This process is a lot more efficient than our traditional process, which results in faster completion dates because it allows the design build team more flexibility. In essence, the team could be purchasing right-of-way in one section of the project, finishing the design in another, while constructing in yet another portion of the project. As a result of this process, over the years, we've seen a lot of innovative designs that further reduce impacts and costs. Now, the public meeting maps I mentioned earlier are on our website. I'm not going to go through each of those maps right now, but I will say that each map includes a color-coded legend that represents the proposed improvements. We have a video describing how to read those maps on our webpage. So I encourage you to look at that and review the maps. And if you have questions, again, contact the project team. But real quick, there are 5 maps. Map 1 runs from US 74 or I-74 to west of Contemporary Drive. Map 2 runs from Contemporary Drive to south of the NC 72 Canton Road interchange, which is exit 17. Map 3 runs from exit 17 to south of the Lumber River Bridge. Map 4 runs from the Lumber River Bridge to Tartan Road. And map 5 runs from Wellington Road to just north of the US 301 Fayetteville Road interchange, which is exit 22. Now, because I did not review the maps with you, I'm going to play a visualization for you, which is a 3D rendering of the project, which I think is probably a little more beneficial for you in understanding the proposed improvements. And we'll just go through this. And it takes about 3 minutes. All right, so here we are, the I-74 interchange. Now, as you head to the north, this will be Kenrick Drive on your left, which is the west side of the project, and on the right, you have West 5th Street. While we're traveling along, I wish I had some music playing, but I do want to give kudos out to our visualization team for bringing this project to life. All right, we're coming, this is now Jonathan Drive, which is adjacent to I-95 here. We come up on exit 17, again, keeping that diamond interchange. And here we have Cox Road on the left. It has a drive on the right side or east side. And here's West 5th Street. Is VFW Road and the CSX Railroad crossing. And here's Crystal Road. The bridge crossing. Here's exit 19. Again, these are roundabouts. Here's Lackey Road, relocated, and Capuana Road on the east. We come up on the new diversion diamond interchange at C211 on Roberts Avenue. Here's Dawn Drive. Here's Con Drive. We're approaching exit 22, which is US 301. And again, no real changes to this interchange. The project limits will extend about a half a mile north of here, where they will tie into another I-95 project, which is I-5987, which widens I-95 from exit 22 to exit 40. All right. So real quick about a little bit about traffic noise. Preliminary noise analysis for this project are currently underway. The location of noise barriers will be determined during final design. To be considered for noise abatement, a land use must have a building permit issued on or before the date of public knowledge, which is the approval date of the final environmental document. And for this project, as I mentioned a little earlier, is the categorical exclusion, or CE as we refer to it. It is being prepared and expected to be approved this winter. Now, once recommended noise barrier locations are identified during final design, all property owners and tenants who are benefited by a barrier will be asked to vote on the barrier. At that time, NCDOT will contact property owners and tenants who are eligible to vote and explain the balloting process and what they are being asked to vote on. Only recommended noise barriers that pass the voting process will be constructed. Having runaway mouse issues, please excuse me. And finally, let's talk about the right-of-way procedures. Once decisions are made regarding the final design of the project, the limits of the project will be staked in the ground. If you are an affected property owner, a right-of-way agent will come out to meet you. They will explain the plans to you and how it affects you as a property owner and your rights as a property owner. If permanent right-of-way is required from you, then an appraisal will be completed. Based on that appraisal, a right-of-way agent will come back out and make a written offer to you. That written offer will be based on the current market value of the property at its highest and best use. Now, in this process, the department must treat all owners and tenants equally. We must fully explain the owner's rights. We must pay just compensation in exchange for property rights. And we must also furnish relocation advisory assistance. Now, that is if your property, your home or business is to be acquired and you're being displaced as a result of this project, then additional assistance in the form of advice and monetary compensation is available. But if anyone has any detailed right-of-way questions, I suggest you contact Mr. Raphael Marshall, our division right-of-way agent. You can look him up on our website. He's also in attendance at this meeting. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. He and his staff are very knowledgeable and good at what they do. So if we're not able to get to your questions tonight, or you have a right-of-way question that comes up later, you can send it into the project team and we'll make sure we get it to Mr. Marshall. All right, so that's it with the presentation. Now it's the public comment portion. One thing I want to point out to those in attendance, we do have a downloadable handout with all the pertinent information that was covered tonight in the handout section of the webinar. Along with some other handouts, we have a Title VI and non-discrimination board that you can read. We have our Title VI form on that downloadable handout. It's also available on our online platform, the public input. So we ask that you fill that out because that will assist us in our future engagement efforts. Gives us demographic data, so I would appreciate that. So with that said, let's see what questions we have. Now, if we're unable to answer the questions tonight, we will address those questions at that post-meeting I mentioned earlier, and we will get a response back to you. Let's see, let me make this bigger. Okay, so the first question comes from Joy Bacowie. I think there are three main questions for the Mayfair community based on what I've seen on our Facebook page. The first is access to the neighborhood. How will Dawn Drive entrances be affected? And the second question is from, sorry about that. The second is, how will flooding in the Mayfair community be mitigated when the retaining walls between I-95 and Dawn Drive go up? All right, so I guess the first question is, how will Dawn Drive entrances be affected? Brian, do you want to take that question?
Yes, Jamil. I'm assuming you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Right now, the entrances from Dawn Drive aren't really being changed at all. And I think that part of that decision might lie with Mayfair ultimately, if it's feasible and if it's eligible for a noise wall. Maybe something would need to change with those entrances. But right now we're not really showing any change.
All right. Thank you, Brian. The question about flooding, Matt, are you still here? Let me reread that question to you. How will the flooding in the Mayfair community be mitigated when the retaining walls between I-95 and Dawn Drive go up?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Jamil. So as Jamil mentioned, the department did extensive modeling of the Lumber River Basin through and Lumberton and up and down the 7-mile corridor, which sees the flooding. So basically we've extended and increased the bridge length at the Lumber River crossing, and then the culverts under I-95 that go from east to west are also being upgraded to convey the 100-year design. So there'll be almost a 2-foot decrease in water surface elevation on the upstream side of I-95 as it flows from east to west. So, and then of course, during these large events like Florence and Matthew, there's a backwater condition that occurs in the Lumber River Basin. But if you know, that part of it would not, we're lengthening the bridge at I-95 there in Lumber River Crossing, so we're not contributing to any additional backwater of the Lumber River Basin that would impact the Mayfair area.
Thank you, Matt. Next question, Mr. Matt Haytes was having some issues with volume, so hopefully that got resolved. The next question is from Mr. Robert Price. If you kept the exit 17 and 20 bridges as they are, could you fit 6 lanes under those bridges using the outside lanes just for exit and entrance at those bridges? Brian, would you like to take that one?
Yes, Jamil, I think the answer to that honestly is I'm not sure that those bridges are long enough. And in addition, with the elevation change, they might have to be replaced anyway. So I know that's not a definitive answer, but again, I think that we're trying to look towards the future when 8 lanes would be needed rather than 6.
Yeah, thank you. Third question, Mrs. Bakowi, hopefully I'm saying that right, had was how will noise mitigation be handled? And I just talked about that, the traffic noise policy. The preliminary studies are underway, but those decisions will not be made until we get closer to final design. And at that point in time, anyone that is expected to receive a benefit of a noise wall will be contacted and afforded the opportunity to vote on whether or not they want the wall. Next, Mr. Haytes, again, was having issues with the volume. He just didn't have any. He logged off. So I think he's still having issues. Next, Mr. Robert Price. Again, why not build a bypass to the west of Lumberton instead of widening the existing road? I don't know, Christy, would you like to take that question? Well, maybe not. I do know that when working on these projects that when I talked about being consistent with the long range plans for the area, that our projects have to be, we both have to adopt those plans and have a consensus on the projects that we're moving forward. So I'm not sure if a bypass was ever studied, but I don't think that that would be feasible for this project. But we will take that question back with us and get you a better answer. Next, we have a question from Natalie Lewis. Those do not look like photos of Lumberton at flooding. Okay. Comment noted. On exit, next we have a question by Andrew Bullard. On exit 17, how far will the sidewalks go down West 5th Street, and how will the sidewalks be on both And will the sidewalks be on both sides of the road? If not, will the sidewalk be on the Burger King side of the road, on the McDonald's side of the road? Brian, you have a lot more familiarity with the design, but I do believe that we have sidewalks on both sides of the road, and they only extend through the limits of the project. Would you like to add anything, Brian? Is that?
Hey, sorry about that, Jamil. I had lost my go-to meeting for just a second. I think I'm gonna maybe pass this one off to Nick Mountcastle, who's been looking quite a bit at the pedestrian and the bicycle accommodations there. Nick, do you want to give an answer to that?
Yeah, Brian. So that is correct, that we are going to be providing sidewalk on either side of 5th Street through the construction limits. And I will take over just very quickly here to show you guys that map. So we're zoomed in here at 5th Street, and you can see these red lines represent the 5-foot sidewalk on either side of the facility. And that goes back to the essentially to the OK Service building and Dobbs. So yes, to answer your question, sidewalk will be on both sides of 5th Street.
All right. Thanks, Nick. So next question is from Mr. Clark O'Neill. Currently on the southbound side of 95 between exit 19 and exit 17, there isn't a service road. Is there plans to add a service road between these two exits with this project? Nick, would you like to answer that one?
Sure, Jamil. So right now, there is a service road, which is Cox Road, between exit 17 and VFW Road. That will remain as is. That will be resurfaced though. To the north of VFW Road, there is Hackett Street is a partial service road that doesn't go on the north side of the Lumber River. At this time, the project is planning to potentially remove that, but we are coordinating with the city to provide additional access there. But there has not been any discussion about providing a service road to the north side of the Lumber River that would connect to exit 19 at Carthage Road.
All right, thanks, Nick. Next, Mr. Robert Price says, love the 10-foot multi-use pass. Thank you, Mr. Price. Natalie Lewis asks, what will the bridge over the Lumber River at exit 19 look like from the river up? Matt, I don't know if you want to take that, but I don't believe we have a visualization of that.
Hey, Jamil, I think we actually do. I was talking with Nick a little bit earlier. I don't think it's from the Lumber River, but we can show you at least a little bit what it looks like from another view, if you would like to see that. And Nick, again, I think if you can take over, if you've got that visualization pulled up.
I do, Brian. I'll go ahead and share that with the audience. So I apologize there. Can you all see the entire visualization there?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, so this is a kind of a rough image of a visualization that we had produced. It shows the retaining walls leading up to the bridge and the new bridge across the Lumber River. This is the highest point of elevation change, where these walls would be roughly 13 feet high. And just to make a note here, this vegetation in reality is actually quite taller than this, but we had to kind of shrink that down so you could actually see the bridge from this view.
And Jamil, I think the main thing I would note is that those dual structures are being replaced with one single structure, at least at this time. That's what the plan is. So the bridge that you're looking at is it's longer and it's wider and it's higher.
All right, thank you so much. Next, Mr. Brandon Love says the city of Lumberton has been working with a retail consultant over the past 5 or 6 years in an effort to recruit new commercial, hospitality, and retail businesses. Since Ruby Tuesday at exit 17 closed, our consultant has identified at least 2 potential retail developments which have shown interest in the site. One issue that continues to be brought up is the right-only driveway exit from the parking lot onto West 5th Street. Since the exit 17 bridge and approaches will be replaced, would it be possible to improve the alignment of this driveway entrance and adjust the signalization in order to accommodate a full service driveway? This would be a great improvement, which will no doubt increase the marketability of the Ruby Tuesday site. Anyone want to take that?
Jamil, this is Christy.
Okay.
We've looked at that. We're going to continue to study that and see exactly what could or what's the best fit there. So we're going to continue to study that, and we'll work with the city of Lumberton further.
All right. Okay, the next, thanks, Christy. The next question was from Mr. Michael Treadle. Will the project be procured in a 2-step process? If so, when do you expect to issue RFQ? And let's see, I believe Tony responded to that question. He said this is a design build bid project, which is based on the best value procurement, a combo of best quality and best price. It involves an RFQ. We will announce our timeline for this process on our Connect site in October. Next, we have Mr. Colin Osborne. With increased flow of floodwaters under the Lumber River Bridge spans, wait, let me read that again. With increased flow of floodwaters under the Lumber River Bridge spans after completion of the replacement elevated bridges and elevated roadway, what will be done to control flooding for riverside landowners through the city of Lumberton? Matt, can you take that question? Are you on mute?
There we go. No, that was muted. Sorry, Jamil. Yeah, so the design here is NCDOT completes this design and the bridges. We've got to go through FEMA compliance. So we'll be working with a floodplain mapping program, part of the Department of Public Safety in the state of North Carolina, to make sure we're in compliance with all FEMA requirements and any flooding issues through there. So I think that's the best way to answer that, Jamil. That we'll be in compliance with those requirements and meet any implications of water surface elevations.
Thanks, Matt. The next question, Mr. Trent Demery. He asked, are we still going to have access to I-95 when the road work starts? And the answer is yes. We will maintain I believe we have to maintain 2 lanes of traffic at all times on this project. Next, Mr. Robert Price asks, will you consider a spillway from the river just north of US 74 on the west of I-95 to the east side of I-95 at the drainage canal that runs 3 miles to the river east of Lumberton? This should prevent flooding of Lumberton in more than 100-year floods. NCDOT participated in a study of this. This cost was said to be $64 million. Matt, do you want to say anything to that?
Thanks, Jamil. Yeah, the primary purpose of this I-95 project from a flood mitigation standpoint was to, address the existing alignment and then address any associated, flooding issues associated with that, as well as, bring resilience to that system. So that, again, and that was the I-95 project. So those alternatives that were identified in other mitigation studies were not considered as part of this project because it didn't yield a result for the I-95 corridor. So I hope that helps.
All right, thanks, Matt. Mr. Robert Price asks, what other options have been considered to widening I-95? Has a Lumberton bypass been considered? We do need to deal with the flooding issues. What alternatives to deal with flooding have been considered? Dikes, drainage plan. The question about the Lumberton bypass, I'm not familiar with the local long-range plans. Christy, if you are familiar with that, chime in. If not, because it's come up twice, we will address it. We'll do some research and get back to you on that. Matt, I guess you're popular tonight. He asked, the second part of the question was, we do need to deal with the flooding issues. What alternatives to deal with flooding have been considered, dikes or drainage plan?
Thanks, Jamil. As far as the drainage goes, the department's required to meet, we have a national pollutant discharge elimination system permit from the Department of Environmental Quality. That permit requires us to discharge water in such a way that doesn't harm the environment. So we need to meet all 401, 404 requirements. So the design team will make sure that drainage is handled appropriately from I-95 to existing receiving parcels and in the river as we design those drainage systems. So, and then we'll coordinate with the city of Lumberton on any cross pipes or things like that need flap gates and things like that to prevent flooding of that interior southern Lumberton area. So again, the I-95 corridor has been designed for resilience to flooding as well as to meet that 100-year design standard, and then also to minimize impacts to surrounding communities with respect to raising grades and things like that. And I mentioned that previously on 5 Mile and Meadow Branch, where we're adding additional culverts to decrease water surface elevation during the 100-year by up to 2 feet. So hopefully that helps the question.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. We have about 6 minutes left, so I want to make sure we get through as many questions as we can. The next question is from Mr. Pramit Patel. Are any sound barriers going to be put up near hotels to reduce noise due to traffic being closer to the hotels once the extra lanes are added? As I mentioned earlier, the preliminary noise analysis are being completed now, so we don't know yet. But again, once we get some information back and some decisions are made regarding final design, we will be in contact with citizens concerning the noise wall, the noise walls and their potential locations. Next question, Natalie Lewis, never mind, photo question, recognize it, okay. All right, next question, Mr. Brandon Love again. The city of Lumberton has a stream restoration and greenway plan for flood impacted properties located along Meadow Branch. This plan is tied to a larger vision of the Lumberton Loop, which would connect over 8 miles of existing and proposed trails. The critical component for the ultimate success of incorporating all of these walking and biking paths would be a connection underneath I-95, adjacent to Meadow Branch. During your culvert design and replacement, we would like for NCDOT to consider a size and shape which would accommodate both pedestrian and bicycle traffic. This connector would link Jerry Giles Park, the proposed Meadow Branch Greenway, and French's Park. And this is again Brandon Love, who is the Lumberton Deputy City Manager. Thank you so much, Mr. Love, for those comments. We will continue to coordinate with you guys as the project moves forward. Mr. Dan Davis asks, in the area of exit 22, how wide is the current road with streets compared to the proposed width? Nick, would you like to take that?
Sure, Jamil. I'll share a map with everyone. So the vicinity of exit 22 that shows up on map 5, and as you can see here, along Don Drive and Con Drive are largely within their existing footprint. These areas of the green hatching is proposed easement. So there are some minimal areas of that as you approach exit 22. And we are moving to the north here. So you can see the proposed roadway width is very similar to the existing roadway width. And then again, at exit 22, we're proposing to retain those bridges in the existing interchange configuration.
All right. Nick, don't go anywhere. The next question from Pradeep Sharma is, what are the impacts on Lackey Street? I guess if you could just run down the two maps of Lackey Street, I believe most of the impacts would be on the southern end with the relocation.
Yeah, that's correct. Let me just get back to this map here. Can you all see the Carthage Road interchange now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is Lackey Street up here on the top of the screen. This is the proposed relocation down at the southern end at Carthage Road. Anybody who's in this area might be familiar with that under the Carthage Road interchange project. We are showing some additional construction easement and right of way leading up to that. And then as you move to the north, Lackey Street is again generally in its existing location. And we're coming up here on exit 20, and there are some additional areas of construction easement moving through here, but we are not looking at any relocations, and just some minimal work to Lackey Street along with resurfacing.
Thanks, Nick. We have a couple of minutes left, actually 1 minute. The next question was, from Mr. Pramit Patel. How does the timeline for this project compare with that for the project, the I-5987 project? Tony responded with our updated project webpage. Christy, do you want to speak to that?
Hey, Jamil, it's Christy. Those two projects, they're on about the same schedule and timeline.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. And we'll take one more question. And then again, for the remaining questions that we didn't get to, I apologize. We ran out of time, but again, we will get back to everyone with a response to any questions. But the last question is from Mr. Greg Gibson. What is the plan for water drainage and runoff at the Tarleton Road section? It is known for flooding, and I worry about more pavement and not enough drainage. I think Matt kind of answered that earlier, but Matt, would you like to address that question?
Thanks, Jamil. Yeah, so for localized drainage, like for example, the drainage that's coming off the highway for the the additional impervious area that we're adding, that'll have to go through a design from the design build team, and then it'll go through a review to make sure that we're not adversely affecting downstream property owners and things like that. So the water will in areas like that that are coming from the new facility will be addressed through that design process and mitigated appropriately.
All right. Again, thanks so much, Matt. Thank you so much to the project team, and thank you everyone that participated in this virtual public meeting. Things are a little different now, as we know. Lifestyles have changed, so the in-person meetings right now are not feasible. So I hope that we were able to provide you with some good information. Again, if you can see my screen, remember to encourage all your friends and family and neighbors that were unable to make tonight. Please encourage them to go to our website and watch the presentation, and encourage them to provide feedback. That's what's going to make this project the best it can be. So please do that. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for attending, taking time out of your day. Please have a good night. And if you have questions, remember to reach out to the project team at any time, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right. Have a good night, and thank you so much.